This is not a course, this is a conversation. Well, I think that the big success story of online learning has been one of accessibility. Before, I think it was the year 2012, when Andrew put his machine learning course from Stanford online. Before that, if you wanted to learn from Mandarin, you had to go to Stanford. The accessibility factor has just been what feels like the most impactful thing that we've been doing over the last 10 years in online learning.
Are the agents actually really good at it, or they're just telling everybody, yeah, you're so great, you're so good?
We're not ready to just swap out humans for AI voice agents just yet.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to a special episode of YAAP here from AI Dev 26 in San Francisco. With me here is Ryan from DeepLearning.ai. Hi, Ryan.
Hello.
Hi. Can you maybe tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So I've been with DeepLearning.ai for a little over 6 years. This is actually the third online education company I've worked at. I had been in academia, and I left academia thinking I was going to become a data scientist. And it was along the way that I discovered the whole world of online learning, and just ended up going in that direction instead. So this has been a really interesting time in deep learning. I've seen us go from being 10 people gathered around a small bank of desks in Palo Alto to now doing things like AI Dev with 2,500 plus people here, I think.
Yeah, big hangar. You can see a bit of the atmosphere that we have here. Inside, it's much nicer, I can guarantee you. So I think the thing that I'm interested the most, where we will get eventually, is the new learning experience that you have in Deep Learning AI.
Yeah.
Right, that you essentially said that Jupyter Notebooks no more, and now you're doing something completely different.
Yeah.
But actually, now that I know that you've been so much time with online education, I'm actually more interested to maybe get your view on how was it from the beginning until now.
Yeah, well, I think that maybe just like the big success story of online learning has been one of accessibility. Of course, before, I think it was the year 2012, when Andrew put his machine learning course from Stanford online. Before that, of course, if you wanted to learn from Mandarin, you had to go to Stanford.
Yeah.
That made it possible for people all around the world to at least have part of that experience, to be able to, take the same lecture material, so to speak. And that's been the case for all the places I've worked. The accessibility factor has just been what feels like the most impactful thing that we've been doing over the last 10 years in online learning. That being said, it's been sort of a one-size-fits-all experience. And I feel like that's the thing that's been a constant over the last decade, is we're building experiences that are not personalized at all. They're just something where we try to build for a certain target audience and hope that that can serve people well. But then there are constraints around that, like the target audience has to be sufficiently large that it feels like your input, effort, and costs and resources was worth it. And so there's just a whole bunch of limitation around that, as well as limitation from the learner's perspective as to how much you can get out of a course that was built, one time for one target.
Evergreen. I think that's one of the main cases against the current education system as well, that it's kind of like a one-size-fits-all. Like, I've heard a lot about that it kind of fits for only a small fraction of people, and not all students can learn in the same way, except this is like mandatory, and you want people to consume your courses are not mandatory at all.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And so I think that like the same thing applies to a classroom where, say, an instructor, I went to a large college in Colorado, and some of the classes were hundreds of people. And so the instructor, maybe it's in person, but it's not personalized.
Yeah.
And so I think that the thing that we're hoping to do going forward is be able to deliver a more personalized experience, and perhaps even get to something that feels more like a one-on-one conversation than maybe what a lot of us got used to in the regular education system of a classroom full of people and one instructor, where maybe there's no opportunity to ask a question, or maybe you feel embarrassed, or maybe whatever. But we're looking toward a future, I think, that's really eventually going to be much more like a one-on-one tutorial experience.
Okay. So what exactly is the new learning platform in deep learning?
So what we've launched here at AI Dev is something that we're calling CoDream, and it's available right now, so people can check it out at app.codream.ai. And it's a learning experience where when you open it up, it looks much like a video. But the difference is, and Andrew says this right in the beginning, we have an opening video. This is an experience from put together by Andrew. He says, this is not a course, this is a conversation. And that's the idea. So there's a microphone button and you can interrupt at any moment and say, wait, but I have a question, and get an answer. And it's even in Andrew's voice because we have Andrew's voice clone, and that voice agent has the context of the entire experience and what we're hoping to have you learn in that experience. So it's not like it's a one-on-one experience yet, but that's the idea, is that that's where we're going. It's something that's a prepared experience, but you have the ability to interact via a conversational agent. And then there's more to it than that. But I think that the conversational aspect is kind of the first thing we're wanting to tackle.
So you're not shooting like courses anymore at all? You're just writing a script and an agent is like teaching you through a conversation?
So we may get there. Right now, it's all pre-recorded by Andrew. We just felt like doing all text-to-speech would be a little bit impersonal, and we wanted to at least start with something that the baseline experience is similar in many ways to what we've been delivering in the past, something that's pre-recorded, something that's thoughtfully constructed, and then the conversation can go wherever it goes from there. The other pieces to this that are different and new and something that we're going to continue to build on are what looks like a video is not actually a video, it's a web app. And so you have portions of the presentation where you can interact with the interface, so it's JavaScript instead of PowerPoint or something, or just video.
But not just like scrolling with bars and see what's happening, but actually like writing code or prompts.
For example, in this first experience we have, you're building a little joke generator app, and the idea is to learn something about how context really affects the performance of your coding agent, because a lot of coding agents will write outdated syntax if you don't provide up-to-date context to begin with. So the idea is kind of just teaching one simple concept of how proper context can affect the performance of your coding agent. But you build a little joke app, and the idea is that you can now extend your thinking to say, okay, jokes are fun, but like, what might I do with the same type of app infrastructure? And so the other piece to the experience is a build environment where you can open code in this case, and build software like you would on your local machine. You can launch it in a preview tab so that you can see what you're building. You could drop screenshots back in and interact the same way that a lot of developers are doing today with coding agents. And so yeah, the idea is that you can learn something, you can interact with the presentation in ways that you would interact with whatever web app. And then you can actually build software in the environment that's part of the experience as well.
I think it really hits the nail with the problem that online learning has, and not just online learning. Not just online learning in the sense of me consuming pre-recorded classes, but I teach a lot of courses via Zoom or via Google Meet, and you can really see how much the participation level is dropping, even with this generation who are, I think, regular to Zoom.
Yeah.
Like it seems that they prefer it even most of the time. Still not as engaging. It doesn't matter what I will do. And it's not interactive, then I'm losing them immediately.
Well, and it's hard for you as an instructor in that scenario to see your audience and
yeah, black squares everywhere. So I have to beg for them to actually turn on the cameras. So you said that you build this experience. Maybe let's go deeper. Can you maybe explain how did you do it? What are challenges that you encountered in?
So when we were thinking about building something that is more personalized and more interactive within the AI fund and deep learning ecosystem of companies, we've been doing a lot of work with voice agents for different applications like interviewers, or we've launched something on the deep learning AI platform called Skill Builder, which is a conversation about how you're using AI in your own projects and work, and then recommendations for how to take your skills to the next level. And so it felt like a natural fit for whatever the future of online learning will be, is some kind of voice agent that can be dynamic and respond and even step into the role as teacher. And so we're not ready to just swap out humans for AI voice agents just yet, but we think that combining a human instructor with a voice agent that allows you to ask questions in real time can provide a much more personalized and just a better experience than whatever we were doing before. The other, yeah.
No, I say it's kind of like, and I would hope that you will not give up humans all entirely. It will mean that I will essentially be jobless. But no, I think it's fun. It's part of the process to teach, but you cannot actually teach one-on-one everybody. The question is, are the agents actually really good at it, or they're just telling everybody, yeah, you're so great, you're so good?
Yeah, that's specific. Of course, if you just, ask ChatGPT to be your teacher, then you can have a whole variety of experiences. And what we're challenged with in this scenario is that we want you to get accurate information. We want you to feel encouraged. We want you to be able to have a conversation about the material and really feel like you're in the room with Andrew. Feel like you're having a conversation that is like a one-on-one teaching experience. And like I said, right now, this is the first thing we've put together, and I think we're envisioning something that feels a lot more coherent as a one-on-one experience. But the other piece of it is that web app instead of a video thing. And what we're thinking of there is we really started with the idea of how might we use generative AI in the content creation process. Everybody's doing this, people are making a mess all over the place with generative AI for content creation. And so we've spent, I think we've really kind of made a name for ourselves as DeepLearning.ai, creating content that's distinguished by its quality. So we feel like the value is a lot of the hard work that we're putting in on the front end to create a learning experience that's better than what you'll find elsewhere. And so it's worth seeking out. And we don't want to lose that in any kind of new, AI-enabled learning environment. And so when thinking about how do we generate content and how do we generate content that we can iterate on, that a human can be in the loop in creating, we ended up just moving away from traditional creation software like PowerPoint or Google Slides, and instead thinking of it all as a web app that's got interactive components that we can be essentially designing visuals and everything as code and interacting with it at a prompt and even interacting with it like you would a slide editor, so that there can be kind of all aspects of human involvement and that it's all understandable to an LLM coding agent, so that you can move forward with your presentation and building it in a way that is using all the benefits of a smart AI coding agent. So that's why we landed. That's how we ended up building React apps instead of slide decks.
Yeah, no, I think you talked about something that I didn't think about in this kind of context, where we do know that generative AI can hallucinate or is not deterministic, and you do want to be upheld to some sort of quality. And how do you make sure that everybody gets the same course, essentially?
Yeah, that's another interesting point, is that we also don't want to create something that's so choose your own adventure that everybody has a different adventure. We really do want to be able to have you say, I went looking for something to learn and I learned that thing. And this is something that I can rely on because the experience was constructed in such a way that I'm getting that out of it. So there's an element of this is going to be something where we're making a lot of decisions for you, but then it's personalized to your learning style, your preferences, just the questions you have, the things that arise in your mind as you're going through it.
And I understand that from Jupyter Notebooks, this was the format up until now, and you're steering away from that?
Yeah, so we love Jupyter Notebooks. We think that it's a fantastic way to learn, has been for a long time. But the reality of why Jupyter Notebooks were a practical learning interface before was oftentimes just because doing it in some other medium, like in an IDE with all of the developer tools, was just too much cognitive load, too much overhead for a brand new learner to coding. And it seemed like the right way to do things was to start in Jupyter Notebooks and then move to more, mainstream developer tools. But it seems like now things have become such that regular developer tools, when you're opening up a coding agent at the command line, or however you like to use your AI coding agent, it makes sense to actually start there rather than to start in a Jupyter Notebook where it's a little harder to use coding agents effectively. So yeah, we've decided it seems like the starting point has moved from what used to be the easiest. Jupyter Notebooks have been for a long time the easiest way to get started coding.
Yeah, it was just like plug and play, just like run.
Put in, it runs, and it's still great. There's nothing wrong with Jupyter Notebooks. Great place to play around, but it feels like if you're really interested in taking a first step that's going to feel empowering and exciting and like you're really doing the thing, then it's better to just start right with a coding agent. In our development environment in this new code room experience is sort of a lightweight IDE. So it's not, you're not opening up VS Code, but the idea is kind of the same. There's a terminal, there's a file system viewer. You can operate like you would within normal developer tools. And so coding by hand is something that we focused on, you could say, for the vast majority of the courses that we've taught. And now it feels like being proficient with using an AI coding agent and maybe not even worrying too much about the syntax or exactly line by line the code itself, but more about what's the spec, the specification document that says what you're trying to create, or how do you instruct that agent to do what you want it to do? And, how do you build something that's of interest to you by having a conversation in natural language and not necessarily being constrained by knowing all of the syntax of the code or having to write it line by line.
Yeah, I think I haven't written a single line of code in forever.
Yeah, no,
just like I'm not even like, even if it's just to change a character, I will prefer to write a prompt like, change that for me, please.
Yeah, it's getting to that point. And even Andrew was saying yesterday that he's feeling like 100% AI generated code is not something to be worried about. It's something to treat differently maybe than you would other ways of building. But yeah, it feels like the tools are there not only to generate the code, but also to verify, to make sure that you've built something that's robust. But yeah, as a beginner now, it seems like people shouldn't be worrying too much about code syntax, or even what language to learn. It's useful to learn how these pieces fit together, learn the building blocks, or the Lego bricks, as Andrew was calling them yesterday, and be able to intuitively put those Lego bricks together and to build something. But yeah, I think that that's the direction we're headed with how we're imagining people learning how to build software.
And so this is kind of like, I would say, what's happening now or maybe in the upcoming month. What do you envision in the next year or two? I hate to ask that every time because nobody really knows.
Yeah.
But what do you think?
Well, so I think one thing that's clear is that you can do all kinds of content generation, all kinds of really productive creation activities with generative AI, LLMs as they are. But it seems like in order to create high quality experiences that actually meet some learning goals, that's going to take more work. And that said, that's where we want to get to. We want to get to a place where it's not a totally pre-recorded, pre-constructed experience, but instead maybe there's a framework or a skeleton or a trajectory for the learning experience, and there are things being created on the fly for you personally, and that might be visual elements, it might be coding exercises or building exercises, whatever you want to call it, and it might be more presentation exercises, all kinds of things that we could imagine creating on the fly that are still going to need to be carefully constructed. But if we can learn how to do that well, then I think that opens up a lot of opportunities for creating really personalized learning experiences, and maybe going beyond where one human could in teaching another human, because the best one human could do is give it their best shot. But if you are able to take a different approach with every single learner based on their preferences or the questions that they have or the way in which they learn best, then I think that opens up an opportunity to not just, the challenge for online learning, I'll back up and say, has been, it's felt like it's not as good as in-person learning. And I think that's been true. And I think that's totally a fair criticism of where online learning's been in the past. And right now we're still working on getting somewhere closer to a future, but it seems like the future that we can aspire to, and maybe it's this year, maybe it's in the not too distant future, is one where we could even exceed the capabilities of a one-on-one teacher to student, teacher to learner.
So like multiple teachers on a single student.
Yeah, or however you might imagine it, just something where the teacher is very adaptable, and acknowledging that people learn in different ways, people start at different places, people want to get to a different destination sometimes. If you're able to take a path that's unique to each learner, then that makes it possible to for a lot more people to learn efficiently, I think, because they're not having to fit themselves into that one-size-fits-all experience.
Yeah, I think that something like this will radically change from elementary school to high school to whatever higher education that we are right now. So I think it's really exciting. If I will go to the platform right now, how many courses are, like, how can I see this experience?
Yeah, so if you go to app.codream.ai, there's exactly one experience there. It's something we're just calling a preview right now, 15 minutes long, and it includes all the basic elements that I was talking about. There's pre-recorded material from Andrew, there's interactive visual components, there's a voice agent you can talk to or chat with on the side. It's actually something where we're right now serving captions in a bunch of different languages, but we could expect more languages. The voice agent, it turns out, is willing to talk to you in multiple languages just because that's what LLMs are capable of now, but that's not something that we feel like is a constrained experience right now. You never quite know what you're going to get if you start talking to an LLM in a different language. But then there's a build environment.
When is the first course that's going to be in this system?
Well, this is the first thing that's up is a legitimate experience. As Andrew says right in the beginning, we're saying this is not a course, it's a conversation. And so that's what we're hoping, even if it feels like there's more to build before we get to something that truly feels like a conversation, that's where we're headed. And so anyway, right now there's one conversation and preview on codream.ai, and there's a build environment where you can build the joke app that's the demo, and you can imagine ways in which to take it to a different use case for yourself. And then you can actually download the project files and continue working on it, wherever you want, in your local machine or something. And so that's what's there right now. And we're looking forward to launching many more conversations, experiences on the platform in the weeks to come.
Great. I'll be sure to check it out. It sounds really exciting. Thank you so much, Ryan, for being here today.
Thanks for having me.
And see you. Tune in for other episodes of YAAP.